Exoneree really has kind of a technical definition. It is that somebody was convicted of a crime, and then that conviction was overturned or vacated on the strength of new evidence establishing their actual innocence. And so either the state withdrew charges or a judge threw out the charges based on a showing of actual innocence. To put it bluntly, Pennsylvania does not have a statute to compensate people who have been convicted of crimes they didn't commit. When somebody's exonerated in Pennsylvania, they're literally just let out of prison. They get nothing from the state.
My name is Edward Baker. I'm from South Philadelphia. I was born and raised up until the time of my incarceration, which started December the 23rd, 1973. I actually just was 17 that year of 73, so I had like, 2.5 months of my 17th birthday out in freedom. The murder happened in South Philly. I stayed over Frankfurt that Friday, came back that Saturday afternoon, and you know how word get around, oh, somebody got killed. That Sunday night, got a knock on the door, the police locked me up. And they told me that there was a young man by the name of Donahue Wise that said I was with him, involved with the murder. This was the only witness they had against me. I had alibi witnesses. Didn't mean nothing. The jury returned September the 19th, 1974, guilty. I received a life sentence after that. I got out December the 14th, 1999. I walked out of the courtroom with jail clothes on. You know, and then thank God I had some people there to take me, because if I didn't, guess what? I might have turned around, knocked on the door and said, yo, take me back in, and what I'm gonna do? If I walk down the street, they're gonna arrest me because I still got the prison clothes on. I stayed at my cousin's house, Doris, for 2 years in the front room. I basically didn't have nowhere to go. And that is another part of the compensation. Most people that do 20, 35 years, what have you, they don't have generally no place to go.
Exonerees sort of fall through the cracks of typical reentry pathways for people. Halfway houses that are limited to parolees are not open to exonerees. Programs that are attempts to reintegrate people into society are typically not available to them. And even if they are, they don't tend to find out about them because they're not in the communication flow the way other releasees are.
My name is Eugene Gilyard. I grew up in the North Philadelphia section of Philadelphia. Before this crime had occurred, the crime for which I was wrongfully convicted, I was attending Simon Gratz High School. The only witness to testify against me was the sole eyewitness in the case, the victim's daughter. She had initially failed to identify me days after the crime had occurred. More than 2.5 years later, this is when she made her first identification of me. She followed that up with the qualification of I'm not sure. However, at the time of trial, she now stated upon testimony that she was 100% sure that I was the individual she saw murder her father that night. When the Pennsylvania Innocence Project took on my case, they filed this petition. The petition was extremely thick. All new discovered evidence. I remember I would read this petition each day whenever I would get down and felt like there was no hope. I would read this petition. I knew that this is the petition that would set me free. The time when I had walked out of prison, I was actually just shy of 16 years. I was locked up approximately 15 years, 11 months, and it was 6 days. And I was fortunate enough to have family members that were still alive and in a position to help me. Because coming home, I didn't have anything. When I went to jail, I was a 18-year-old child, high school student, no property, no resources whatsoever. When I was released from prison, I was not given any type of promise to give me any type of medical treatment, any type of psychological treatment. I just merely prayed to my God. I prayed and I had the patience and love and support of my family, and this is all that was able to get me over that hump, that transition from prison to having my freedom back.
Well, certainly all of our clients could absolutely have benefited from those kind of services. But the one that comes to mind initially is a client of mine, his name is Marshall Hale. So when Marshall came home, the best the Department of Corrections would do for us is they said they could set him up in a homeless shelter. And I said, no, I'm not going to have my client who's been in prison for 33 years go to a homeless shelter. So we worked hard to find family members of his who stepped up, who had a place for him to stay. And then we, at the Pennsylvania Innocence Project, we went out and bought things that he would need when he came home. We bought clothing for him. We paid for his cell phone. We paid for his transportation. We helped get him hooked up with Social Security and his medical benefits. And we helped his family to be able to reintegrate him into their lives.
People quite understandably expect that if you can prove in court that you were imprisoned for a crime you did not commit, that should be a violation of your civil rights and you should be eligible for money. And it's incredibly difficult to get across, but that is simply not our system. In our laws, proving that you were imprisoned for a crime you did not commit will get you nothing under our civil rights standard. What you need to prove is that that happened to you as the result of bad actions by somebody working for the state. And because of immunities that we give to judges and prosecutors, that means typically you have to show that there was a cop who hid evidence, a cop who manufactured evidence, an investigator who coerced a confession, a lab technician who made up results, things of that nature.
Most wrongful convictions, and I mean the vast majority, are caused by an error in the criminal law system. For example, an eyewitness who just gets it wrong. Not because they're trying to, not because they were forced to, but because the system, the ways that that person went through an identification procedure, like a lineup or a photo array, was flawed. And they wound up picking the wrong person, completely by accident. Or science, which has changed over time. We have many clients who were convicted under certain scientific principles for arson, even shaken baby syndrome, that everybody believed was accurate. We now know is not accurate. You know, there's no one to blame for those cases. You can't go back and blame science. One of the greatest ironies, and I think tragedies, of the work that I do is even after we prove that somebody is actually innocent, that they did not commit the crime that they were convicted of, some people still think they did. That they will carry that label of rapist or murderer for their lives. We have to have people understand. Sometimes this system makes mistakes. And when it does, we all have to acknowledge that that mistake was made and that individual doesn't deserve that title.
By them not recognizing that I need a place to go, I need a suit to walk out of court, they only perpetuating the same thing that I was convicted for. You're only extending it.
It is right that we compensate people. It is right that we provide for their suffering and their pain and what they went through and what their families went through. It is right that we try to give back a little bit from what was so seriously taken from them.
Money is a natural thing. You know, you can't live without water. You can't live without food, and God knows you need money.
In my opinion, a compensation bill has nothing to do with blaming police and prosecutors. This is solely about making a wrong right, giving to someone who have been wronged the opportunity to get their life back on order.
It's time, it's overtime for Pennsylvania to right the wrong, showing some civility for the people that need your help.